I never imagined I'd end up here, back in my childhood bedroom, living with my mom, drowning in the mess I've made of my life. I swore I'd never be like her. I spent my whole life defining myself against her choices, promising I'd never repeat her mistakes. But now, I'm no better than she was. If anything, I'm worse. When I was 9, my family shattered. My parents divorced, and my world turned upside down. My dad, the man I adored and idolized, was the perfect husband in my eyes. He was kind, loyal, hardworking, and he loved my mom deeply. But that wasn't enough for her. She cheated on him, and the fallout was catastrophic. I didn't know the full story at the time. I just knew my dad changed after that. He became distant and cold to everyone except me. It was like the betrayal flipped a switch in him, shutting off any warmth he'd once had for the world. I found out later that my mom wasn't the first woman to betray him. Before my dad married my mom, he'd been engaged to another woman who also cheated on him. He forgave her, tried to make it work, but it didn't last. When he met my mom, he finally felt like he'd found someone who wouldn't hurt him, someone who valued the kind of man he was. But her infidelity broke something in him. He never remarried, never even dated again. He shut himself off from love completely, despite being an attractive, fit, and desirable man. Friends, family, even I encouraged him to move on, but he wouldn't. He'd say, "Once is a mistake. Twice is a lesson." He'd learned his lesson the hard way. My mom, on the other hand, jumped from one bad relationship to another. None of the men she dated treated her with half the respect my dad did. Watching her stumble through her life only fueled my resentment toward her. When I was 15, everything came to a head during a massive fight. I'd been caught drinking with friends, and the police brought me to her house. After they left, she started lecturing me about responsibility and respect. It was the last straw. "How dare you talk to me about respect?" I snapped. "You ruined everything. You had the perfect husband, the perfect life, and you threw it all away. You don't understand what it was like," she shot back, defensive. "Your father, he wasn't enough for me." I froze. What the hell does that mean? She hesitated, her face flushing with shame. "I mean, physically. Your father is a good man, but he's small. It's always been a problem, and I couldn't live with it anymore. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. You're telling me you destroyed our family because Dad has a small dick?" "It's not just that," she yelled, but her voice cracked. "It's about feeling satisfied, about feeling wanted. Dad worshipped you," I screamed. "He treated you like a queen, and you threw him away for some random losers? You're disgusting." That night cemented my vow: I would never be like her. I would never betray someone I loved, no matter what. But I broke that promise. I met Dave in my early 20s. He was 15 years older than me, but I didn't care. He was gorgeous, successful, confident, and kind. He had a steady government job, and he made me feel safe and cherished. Like my dad, he wasn't perfect, he had a small penis, but that didn't matter to me. I told myself I was better than my mom, that I'd never let something so superficial ruin my marriage. We got married, and for a while, I was happy. Dave was attentive, loving, and incredible in other ways. But as time went on, I started to change. I got restless. I started focusing on what he couldn't give me instead of what he did. And then, like my mom, I strayed. At first, it was just physical. I sought out men who were bigger, who could give me the thrill I convinced myself I was missing. But it wasn't just about the size. With these men, I became a different person: bold, reckless, free. It was exhilarating, and I hated myself for loving it. I even started to understand my mom's decision in a twisted way. I told myself that maybe she felt trapped, like I did, and needed to break free. But after every encounter, the guilt would come crashing down. Dave didn't deserve this. He was good to me, loyal and loving. I knew I was destroying everything we'd built, but I kept doing it. I told myself as long as I kept my affairs discreet, I wasn't really hurting him. Then he caught me. One day, he surprised me at work and saw me leaving with another man. He followed us and caught us having sex in my car. He recorded everything. When I saw him standing there, watching us through the window, I thought he'd explode. But he didn't yell. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me with this devastating calm, turned, and walked away. When I got home, my stuff was on the porch. The locks were changed, and he wouldn't answer my calls. I sat there sobbing until my dad showed up. He loaded my things into his car without a word. On the drive, I tried to justify myself. "You don't understand," I said. I felt like I was missing something. I didn't mean to hurt him. He didn't even look at me. "You sound just like your mother," he said. I felt like I'd been slapped. I thought he was taking me to his house, but he took me to my mom's instead. He unloaded my things, looked at me with pure disappointment, and said, "You made your bed. Now lie in it." Then he drove away. Now I'm here, living with the woman I swore I'd never be like. I've become everything I hated. Dave has filed for divorce. My dad won't even speak to me. I betrayed the two men I loved most in the world, and for what? A thrill. A moment of excitement. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know if I can. I've lost everything, and I have no one to blame but myself.